Hi everyone. Hi! That's my son. He says hi all the time. I'm a bit of a loose unit, so I'm not slick and I have my notes in front of me, so I might need to reference them, I might not. Who here has heard of Small Giants? Okay, cool. I just wanted to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we stand. Oh my God, I have to turn my email off. Awkward. I'll start again. I wanted to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we're standing and their elders past, present and emerging. In acknowledging the traditional owners, I want to acknowledge the context in which we're all gathered here today, which is a very changing time, a very strange time with ecological collapse globally, on the daily, political unrest that has been stirred by technology we don't understand, driven by corporate interests that do not have the common good in mind, and social and wealth disparities that our generation has never seen before. This is my crew. And the little guy over there is in the middle. And that's Danny, who I founded Small Giants with, and my three beautiful kids, Moss, Leo and Willow. I started Small Giants with Danny, who was the founder of Engineers Without Borders. We started it when I was 8 months pregnant with Amos, who's the tall guy on the end there. I was 8 months pregnant. I was in the cinema watching An Inconvenient Truth. How many people here have seen An Inconvenient Truth? I only needed to see that film once. And we were in the cinema and I was bringing a child into this world and I was freaking out because I didn't know all the things that I was watching unfold in front of me, and I didn't know how to bring a child into this world that was about to unfold. This was 12 years ago. And I got up to leave the cinema and Dan grabbed my hand and he said, "Just sit back down, babe. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch it together. We're going to get to the end. And then we're going to talk about what we're going to do about it." And I was howling with tears. And we watched it, we finished it. And at the end, Al Gore says, "Between denial and despair, there is action." And I walked out and I said to Dan, I don't know what we could possibly do to affect what's coming. We've inherited this legacy. I didn't know about it, and I don't know about how to move forward. What do we have that could contribute? And so Small Giants was born as our action. And I thought at the time, so we realised what we had was financial capital and intellectual capital and social capital and love capital. And when I heard about impact investing, it didn't actually have the name impact investing. I heard that we could invest with a triple bottom line: people, planet, profit. And I thought, oh my God, we've solved it. We've nailed it. We're done. Everyone's just going to do this. People, planet, profit, all in favour, say aye. 12 years ago, crickets. 12 years ago, we were hippies with money. And that was a weird thing to say, and that was the not-for-profit sector. And a friend of mine backstage, a new friend of mine backstage, told me I should come out here and open. I said I was going to be controversial, and he said I should come out and say, "Fuck Adani." So I said it. I said, "I can't say that. I'm a solar baron." And then I went, Fuckadani! I can totally say that, and I should say that often. And what I am going to say is that I struggled with even the framing of Social Good Summit. I struggle with speaking on stage about the things I really care about because I do have a controversial position, and that is that this is not philanthropy. That we cannot solve the problems we are facing and leave a world for our children that our hearts know is possible with the philanthropic dollar. And impact investing, which is badly named, open for workshopping that shit, because that is not working for me. Why it's not working for me is because impact investing is perceived by traditional markets and the economy as an asset class. Goldman Sachs are in it. They've got a $200 million impact fund. As far as I'm concerned, that is bullshit. Because you cannot rape and pillage with one hand and give with the other. And I joke, but I don't joke about wanting to be a baby boomer. I was raised by them and I love them, and my baby boomers are on a cruise right now. So I do love them, but my mum still says, so, darling, impact investing, could you just explain that to me again? Which is, I think, an intergenerational reframe. It's not an asset class, it's a new paradigm. We need to shift the way we think about financial capital and the economy. And this is from the 1400s. Machiavelli knew that the old system will die hard. And a lot of people here are like bereft about the election results. And they're like, what? How did that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. The coal industry spend $1 billion a year on their story. We are not telling the story of the new economy and the world we want to leave our children. We are not telling it with our core capital, with our core everything. And so Clive Palmer spent $50 million on his election story because he understands the existential risk that his business is facing. And so Small Giants was born after we saw the film from a proposition that I thought was a no-brainer, people, planet, profit. I was like, we're done, we're solved. We'll pivot in about 5 minutes here, people. We have put 100% of our financial capital in service to the planet and community. Not 10% of a foundation's spend. Not 1% of a core capital. Most people have 98% of their personal investing in rape and pillage and less than 1% in philanthropy. My proposition is, if that's your paradigm, you're not a philanthropist. You're someone who sometimes gives some of their money away. So this is something super exciting which has emerged in the last few years. Has anyone seen Kate Raworth's donut? Do we love Kate Raworth's donut so very much? So Kate is a friend of mine and her husband Roman. They are actually the empathy and the new economy couple. He writes about empathy. She is a scholar on the new economy. And this is the new economic paradigm. I could kind of drop the mic and leave now because this is what we're living into. So the current economic paradigm still taught to MBA students in Harvard is an endless growth curve. The invisible part of the graph is an endless depletion of planetary resources and the complete destruction of community fabric. This is how we could live. We could live into that sweet spot for the safe and just space for humanity within the boundaries of our biosphere. And this is the current donut. We're out on every single measure. Yeah, take photos, I'll be quiet. This is where we are. And this is a pathway for where we could go. But we cannot get here half-assed. I'm swearing a lot in front of my child. Oh, he's not here. Great. So this is the picture of where we are, and this is the picture of where we could go. I believe in that possibility. In the next 10 years, it's more than that. It's over $100 trillion is going to be handed from one generation to the next in private wealth alone. And this slide is important. I didn't understand this slide. Dan uses this slide a lot, and it accidentally ended up in my PowerPoint. Because he's an engineer and he loves that shit. And I was like, I don't know how to talk to that. And then I realised, of course, what we're pivoting from is a me economy to a we economy. And that deeply, this is my friend Lydia Fairhall. She's an Indigenous woman who's in the latest issue of Dumbo Feather. Subscribe now. Gift one to a friend. And Lydia has taught me so many amazing things, and what she's taught me is how the ancient wisdom of their culture, which has been custodian of the land for tens of thousands of years, in their philosophy, we care for country. And also, we are country. That's empathy. It's where we're able to find one another and break through to the common good, to the we economy. This is a snapshot of a few businesses in the Small Giants family. So Small Giants, I'm racing ahead for whoever doesn't understand my story. I inherited a large legacy of financial capital when I was a kid. My dad died when he was 45 and I was 14. And at the time, I was a child. I was actually dreaming of standing on this stage. I auditioned for NIDA when I was 17. That went badly. So it's funny, it's actually ironic that I'm standing here now and talking to you about money and the economy, because it was the one thing that I was not going to be doing when I was a grown-up. And when I was 14, I inherited my estate, and I said to my older siblings, y'all take care of this for me. I'm going to go be an artist. I'm going to be a performing artist. And I did. I went to the Victorian College of the Arts. And then I worked in Hollywood. I was a screenwriter and film director in my early 20s, and I was going to win an Oscar because that would be commensurate with my inheritance. And I felt ashamed and kind of weirded out by the money, and I wanted to prove that I could make something as meaningful as that legacy. And I said to my family, when I'm 25 and ancient, I'll step on the family board and I'll start to take responsibility. So I was able to develop my skills in storytelling for many, many years, and I use them today with Dumbo Feather and the School of Life. And when I stepped on the family board, there was just so much of this about stuff that didn't exist. And there were a lot of financial instruments and a lot of moving money and a lot of gaming the system. And I just didn't want to do that. The emperor had no clothes. And it was in the crash of 2008 that I had Dan and I both had our big empowerment moment and revelation, because we had been told, you're hippies with money. Don't touch it, you'll lose it. In 2008, when all the experts lost everything, I was like, ha ha, you don't know what you're doing either. So we took a punt, and we took all of that legacy and began to slowly invest in businesses that were doing meaningful work in the world. And it's a lot of businesses. This is only a few. There's about 30 to 40 businesses under the Small Giants umbrella, and it's a private family office, but we invest in all these different businesses. Mossy Willow Farm down the bottom here is a regenerative 25-acre farm on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria. We feed about 100 families a week. It's no-till, organic, regenerative practices. The Impact Investment Group. If you're wondering after I've spoken about where you can invest your money, the Impact Investment Group is the place, because we are 100% ethical impact investing firm. The School of Life. Who's heard of the School of Life? Yay! I wish I had a code. I don't have a code. We should have a code so everyone can go to a class, but you can email me. Dumbo Feather, the magazine, the Sociable Weaver, we build incredible buildings. We built a 10-star house. Has anyone seen the 10-star house? Look it up, it's awesome. And the Cape is an environmental community on the Cape in Victoria. Instead of building 900 houses, we built 200 houses and community gardens and community spaces. Wind farms, solar, we invested in the documentary 2040. Has everyone seen 2040? Yeah, so we're very good friends with Damon and we helped get that off the ground. So there's a lot of different things in here. The Commons, has anyone heard of the Commons in Brunswick, in Melbourne? Yeah, so that was us. And so we get to the SDGs, and the SDGs, we actually measure our portfolio against the SDGs. We're also the first B Corporation in Australia. We helped bring B Corp to this country. We work with the... Dan actually was at SOCAP every year hassling the B Corp guys and saying, we need to bring B Corp to Australia. And they were like, no, we don't have time. Dan's like, well, I'm going to do it and I'll give you a call. So it happened. And Gross National Happiness is, we work with the royal family in Bhutan, taking tours there about gross national happiness. Does everyone know about G&H? So instead of measuring GDP or alongside GDP, this is what Jacinda Ardern has kind of adopted for New Zealand, a wellbeing management for the nation. We would make very different decisions if we measured G&H, as the Bhutanese do. So this gets me to how much is enough. One of the first questions that Dan and I asked, am I running out of time? I've run out of time. Can we carry on? Is that bad? Okay, shh, don't tell anyone. One of the first questions we asked was, how much is enough? I come from a refugee entrepreneur family. My grandfather and grandmother were Holocaust survivors. So when you asked my grandmother, how much is enough, her answer was, it's never enough. The wall cannot be high enough, the distance between us and the world cannot be deep enough, and money is going to create it. In my family, my grandmother, I would hear her talking Yiddish with my dad every morning when he dropped me off at school, and she would never say, "Was machst du, Leibi? How are you, Leon?" She'd say, "How's the business?" So in my family, the business should have had a seat at the dinner table, because it was alive and apparently the most important person in the family. And the SDGs are tools to help us ask ourselves and be accountable to the question of how much is enough. That's weird. I don't know why that's in there. That's in there. This is my day today. This is my life. If we care for country and we are country, then we are included in that care. And I know a lot of people here are activists. How many activists are in the room? There's a few people. Yeah, it's exhausting. And you can feel like everything's collapsing around us and there's nothing that we can do. So there's this duality of being of service to the world and also loving ourselves and our family, nourishing ourselves and our family, and sort of living love in action. And that's something that we try to do. 2030 is a great goal, but if humanity is not viable on Earth, as per a recent environmental paper, by 2050, I can't do that. I can't do what we need to do on my own with my 100% all in. And I talk to people who have power and agency and influence every day. I'm sorry, but they're fucking hedging. How can I make a profit? It's actually gone beyond people, planet, and profit. We have to live within the bounds of the biosphere and towards human flourishing for all of us. So if you have agency, buy a goddamn copy of the magazine. If that's all you can do. I don't want to hear it's too expensive. It's $15 a quarter. Most people spend $3,000 a year on cigarettes. And if you have money and you are hedging, I am begging you to show up now. We don't have time. We are too goddamn comfortable. This is not philanthropy. This is core capital dollars, and you need to show the fuck up for your children and your grandchildren. Because there will be nothing to give you comfort when the rest of the world is suffering, and it is happening today, it is happening now. And there's a way to do it. We've been doing it for 12 years. The entire world can pivot to the new economic paradigm. It's right in front of us. We have the SDGs, we have B Corp, we have the tools. Call me, write to me, go on the Small Giants website, go to the Impact Investment Group, go to a School of Life class. If I sound like a weirdo, do that. We need to show up with everything we have, with all of our capital. Thank you.